Introduction. On my channel, there is a long proof for Christianity, long enough to cover the subject adequately, but not short enough to be manageable. I'll leave the long proof up in case anyone does have the time and inclination to watch it all, or as a reference one can use in pieces to flesh out certain segments of the shorter proof. That proof is, the long proof, is divided up into numerous sub-series of videos. Number 1, the cosmological argument. Number 2, the teleological argument, and so on. The sub-series start with numerals, in other words. 1, 2, 3, and so on. So this series, the one I'm doing now, gives the short proof. And because it is short, I will have to sacrifice important details. Keep this in mind as you watch the series, that I'm really leaving out a lot of what I should say in a more complete argument. For example, I am quite aware of the long history of a theological rebuttal to everything I am going to say in this series. There just isn't enough room to cover this here. Truth be told, I did not really address such natural atheology in the longer proof either. To summarize the summary, then, I shall first establish some type of God exists, establish that some type of God does in fact exist. Second, I'll establish the identity of this God as Yahweh or Jesus Christ. To establish the first truth, I shall appeal to the arguments of classical apologetics, such as propounded by Leibniz, Aquinas, and Anselm, to name a few. To establish the second point, I shall argue for the general reliability of the Bible, since Christian doctrine, particularly doctrine with respect to who God is, follows inescapably from the Bible, if the Bible is a reliable source of theological truth. So if I establish the Bible as reliable truth about God, then I shall establish God to be Yahweh or Christ. Classical apologetics. There are several facts about the world which can only be true if there is a God. 1. There is intelligent design in the cosmos. 2. There are ethics in the cosmos. In the life of human beings, that is, there really are virtues and vices. 3. The existence of the cosmos, initially or continuously. 4. The presence of rationality and self-consciousness in humans. 5. The definition of God. These 5 facts, taken singly or collectively, could not be actual facts unless there really were a God. And these facts do obtain in our world, so there must be a God. There must be a God not because we learned in Sunday school that there's a God, or our pastor told us we should believe there is a God, or we grew up in a Christian environment and, let us say, a delusional meme rubbed off on us. Instead, we know there is a God because it is rationally inescapable. So now let's look at these 5 points in more detail. Number 1. The presence of intelligent design in the cosmos, using that to argue for the existence of God, has traditionally been called the teleological argument. A point of clarification immediately arises here. As soon as I say intelligent design, that immediately conjures up images of creationism and the ID movement. I do not mean intelligent design in that sense necessarily. Irreducible complexity could be manifestly false, and intelligent design in the sense I'm using the term here would still be true. Neo-Darwinian evolution, Neo-Darwinian evolution through primarily natural selection could be true as well. All I mean by intelligent design is that there is design in the cosmos, and that let's see here, lost my place. All I mean by intelligent design is that there is design in the cosmos, and that design is ultimately the result of intelligent agency. Nothing more, nothing less is what I mean by intelligent design than that. That there is design in the cosmos is beyond dispute. There are systems, and systems are designed. Certain parts of these systems betray a means-to-end kind of relationship. For example, the most important organs of the body, the human body, are arguably the lungs, the heart, and the brain. most important in terms of having a full and meaningful life. If our lungs are significantly damaged, we can't breathe, and so we die, and so on. But these most important of organs are protected by our rib cage and skull. One function of the skeletal system one function that the skeletal system serves in humans is the protection of our most important organs. But is this means-to-end relationship intentional or intelligent? I think it is. If there is a means-to-end relationship here, and there is, that does give us some reason to think that it may have been intentional. If we add up all instances of design in the biological realm, our sense of intentionality or purposeful design becomes overwhelming. Many instances of design are more intuitively obvious that they're intentional, than others. For example, in Richard Dawkins' book about evolution, The Greatest Show on Earth, the title of the book is The Greatest Show on Earth, in that book he describes a particular flower. This flower is a kind of trap for bees. The bee falls into the trap and gets pollen on its abdomen. After getting the pollen on it, the bee crawls out of a bee-shaped hole, and in this way spreads the pollen around to other flowers. In this way, the plant reproduces itself. A hole that just happens to be in the exact shape and exact size of a bee smells very fishy to me. Remember, this plant would not reproduce unless it first trapped the bee, but if it didn't allow the bee to escape after being trapped, it wouldn't reproduce anyway. In his book, Dawkins describes this as an example of coevolution. But so what? Why should evolution have the power to do this in the first place? It seems like an intelligent mind loaded the dice when he set up evolution in the first place. That is, if you believe that there is evolution. Moreover, there are laws, constants, and initial conditions of physics which have to be just so in order for life of any kind to exist in the cosmos. Why would they be just so in our own world? Surely this is incredible. These cannot be explained by physical necessity because they are what determines physical necessity in the first place. So then, in the back of design within our cosmos, there has to be a mind. This all men call God. Number 2, the second fact about the world that establishes the existence of God is the existence of ethics. There are two and only two groups of people in the world: those who admit that there is objective morality, and those who deny that there is objective morality in life until somebody wrongs them in a serious way. So this objective morality can only be grounded in a deity. There's no other way to ground it. Alright, so of course there could be people, and there no doubt are people who are ethical, that don't believe in God, but the question is not are they good, but what do they ground their goodness in? And that goodness cannot be grounded in nature. It has to be grounded in a deity. And then number 3, we'll take a look at the cosmological arguments starting in video number 2. Thank you.